Yellow-crested cockatoos are a species of Kakatuidae primarily found in Indonesia on the island of Timor. This species is widely recognized and popular for its sharp white plumage and warm yellow crest, a seemingly friendly air, and a grating screech. Widely prized as pets, the species has been pushed to the brink of extinction with no more than 2,500 individuals being left in the wild. Poachers capture wild cockatoos to sell off in the pet trade, a practice that peaked in the 80s.
So I'm Dr. Astrid Anderson. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Hong Kong. I'm also a National Geographic explorer, and I'm on the IUCN Species Specialist Group for wild parrots. In the 1980s, over 90,000 yellow-crested cockatoos were exported from Indonesia.
This has now lent them a spot on the IUCN's critically endangered species list. Despite being native to the tropics and Indonesia, we now find these amicable birds in an unexpected location: Hong Kong. These birds seem to have taken a liking to this urban jungle and can now be frequently spotted in trees around the city, munching on figs, seeds, and flowers. Cockatoos have been present in Hong Kong since the 1960s as escaped pets, a population that is now likely continuously supplemented by newly escaped individuals. Hong Kong is now home to the second largest wild population of cockatoos, behind their native archipelago.
This large adoptive family has been around since the beginnings of the pet trade, and has not once left this leisurely weekend spot. As an introduced and non-native species, these protected neighborhood birds have gained admirers alongside the title of, quote, invasive species, the title given towards a potential threat to native ecosystems. However, their limited distribution in rural areas and small numbers has proved to simply exercise commensalism relations.
Yeah, the cockatoos in Hong Kong are mainly, they reside in the highly urbanized areas of Hong Kong, like Admiralty, Wan Chai, residential areas like Pok Fu Lam, highly developed. So they're not really moving into the country parks, the protected areas that we have in Hong Kong, because they are very drawn to the urban parks where there are exotic tree species that may provide different types of fruit, different seeds and nuts for them year round. In Hong Kong Park there's like longan trees, there's mango trees, there's really nice food for them.
The likes of which cause no or only ever so slight damage to the rich biodiversity of Hong Kong.
Their interaction with native fauna and flora is limited, because they are in areas where a lot of, owls, for example, won't necessarily go to Hong Kong Park. But at the moment, being in those urban parks means that they mainly interact with very common species like I think in the specific case of the cockatoos in Hong Kong, their impact on native flora and fauna is very minimal, actually, because if there's any species that's impacted the native flora and fauna in the areas cockatoos hang out, it's humans, right? Because
the much larger problem faced with these species is their rapidly declining numbers. Cockatoos and parrots as a whole are adored and prized as pets.
Parrots, because they're very charismatic.
It comes as no surprise that they make excellent pets. They're clever, affectionate, and playful, and have even shown to form close bonds with their owners. But this demand and love for pet parrots has also driven the illegal wildlife trade to expand its reach, leading to the poaching of young cockatoos even within their urban solace.
In 2015, for example, there was a seizure by customs in Indonesia of 25 yellow-crested cockatoos stuffed in bottles, and it was just leaving the port, a seaport in Indonesia, and was dead. When poaching has happened, usually I think the method to do that is to climb up to the tree and grab the chicks when they're in the nest hole. So before they can fly away, the parents will probably swoop and be very aggressive towards any human trying to do that. But I guess you can, as if you can grab a cockatoo chick. That's even happened in Hong Kong a couple of times. There was a record in 2015 in Port Fulam, just outside Upper Baguio Villas. There's a nest there, and there was a record of a man climbing up to the nest and grabbing the cockatoo chick, and there's photos.
Despite this, hope for this species is not so dull, contrary to what you might believe.
You just can't tell by looking at it, has this one come from the wild or has it come from a legal farm? So for my PhD, we looked at the feathers because it's the same as for humans, we are what we eat. And the wild cockatoos do indeed have a very different diet to the captive cockatoos. And so that you can see very differently in their feathers. So this is a forensic test that could be used in a market. You just take a sample, check if it's got the chemical composition that's more indicative of a wild diet or a captive diet. And
because while technology and science develop, so can cockatoo conservation. Global efforts and the development of a tight-knit, passionate community also serve as a key in ensuring the protection of yellow-crested cockatoos, but not only as a protector of rare exotic birds.
I think for me, best part of birdwatching is part of the community. People kind of contributing and telling people where things are.
Sometimes I do find, they are very, very welcoming, but I would also say there's an element of snobbishness about calling the wagtail the wrong thing or whatever,
But really, why birdwatch?
Birdwatchers do provide invaluable observational data, anecdotal data. Some of the birdwatchers that I have indeed collaborated with, communicated with, they've given me such insights about where they see the cockatoos roosting, for example, where they see them, know that there's maybe a nest site that was there previously or isn't anymore, or there's a new one or something.
I think birding itself as well, it's about being more in tune with nature.
I didn't know much about birds until I started my PhD at all.
The other thing, I started by taking my camera and going out into the jungles of Hong Kong and just finding animals, and then I wanted to know more about them, and I found it fascinating. It's part of that, what I would call look, find, discover, learn, love, protect. And that looking and finding and discovering I just found so interesting. It was like going back to school or going to university, something that you really want to learn more about.
I would just say, come and try it out yourself, because
In this bustling city, it's nice to slow down and realize that this beautiful city is home to not only us humans, but also a variety of animals. Although we are very space-taking, we are, after all, just a single species.
It's not always easy to find hope when you're working in conservation, but I feel like the birds and the cockatoos, are a great example of facing great adversity, being maybe smuggled from Indonesia to Hong Kong or however they were transported, overcoming that, maybe overcoming some years in captivity in someone's apartment, and then finding a way to survive in this city. That's amazing, right? It shows such adaptability and ability to strive and keep going.